How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Fallout Iceberg. Fallout needs no introduction, I'm sure of that. It's one of the most popular gaming franchises of all time, and in my personal opinion, my favorite gaming franchise of all time. There's just something about it that no other game can replicate. So today we're going to be talking about the Fallout Iceberg. Now, if you don't know what an iceberg is, which you probably do, but just in case, an iceberg is basically information about a certain topic, in this case Fallout. And the lower you go in the iceberg, the more obscure, weird, and unknown the entries get. Also, before we get into it, if you liked the video, you should definitely subscribe. I have a feeling this video is going to take me a really long time to make. And we hit 500 subs. Let's go. That's absolutely insane to me. I only started, like a month ago on YouTube? And I love the progress that we've been making so far. Thank you guys so much. Okay, other than that, I think that's about all I have to talk about before we get into it. So let's get into the Fallout Iceberg Explained. Oh wait, one last thing. I will be skipping some entries if they're just not interesting to talk about, so keep that in mind. Starting off tier 1, we have Nexus Mods. I'm sure you guys already know what Nexus Mods is, but just in case, it is the largest modding community on the entire internet. The reason why this is on the Fallout Iceberg is because a lot of Fallout mods can be found here. I think there's over 2,000 just for Fallout 4. That's absolutely insane. Keep in mind, these are just the base level entries, so we're not going to see any crazy entries right now. But basically all you need to know about Nexus is that it's a modding platform for Fallout and many other games. It's probably the largest modding platform on the entire internet. The next entry is Todd Howard. Todd Howard is the director and executive producer of Bethesda Games, which owns Fallout. If you clicked on this video, you probably already knew that, but just in case you didn't, there you go. This guy's probably one of the most memed on game directors or owners, whatever you want to call him, other than Gabe Newell. Of course, nothing really beats Gabe Newell, and he's 5'6". Not that that's important to the entry, I just wanted to mention that. He did create 4 Game of the Year winners in a row though, so that's pretty nice. Oblivion, Fallout 3, Skyrim, and Fallout 4. So yeah, Todd Howard is the director and executive producer of Bethesda Games. Next up, we have the entry Bethesda Bad, Obsidian Good. This entry refers to the fact that most Fallout fans seem to like Obsidian a lot. They made New Vegas, and they seem to have a disdain for Bethesda. But I mean, without Bethesda, Obsidian would have never made New Vegas. I mean, come on. Fallout 3 I don't care as much for as most people do, but Fallout 4 is a great game. You cannot convince me otherwise. Fallout 4 is great. We don't talk about 76 though. I think the Bethesda hate is a little undeserved. I don't think Bethesda's bad at making Fallout games. I like Fallout 4. Most people don't like it though. I feel like it's just hater culture. There's plenty of things Bethesda does good. There's plenty of things Bethesda does bad. Obsidian, they did make New Vegas, and that's where the general love for Obsidian comes from. Which, I mean, yeah, New Vegas is like the objective best Fallout game. I do want to see Obsidian make another Fallout game though. But yeah, most fans think Bethesda bad, Obsidian good. Next up, we have a Preston Garvey reference with Another Settlement Needs Your Help. If you've ever played Fallout 4, you know exactly what this means. Preston Garvey, literally every single time you see him, after every mission, goes Another Settlement Needs Your Help and puts you on a mission. I was just talking about how I love Fallout 4. I absolutely hated that about it though. I don't even hate Preston Garvey either. I like his silly little hat. But other than that, dude, he's just so annoying. Oh my god. Yeah, most people hate Preston Garvey, and most people think that he drags Fallout 4 lower. You can kind of think of Preston Garvey as the Jar Jar Binks of the Fallout universe. Like he's literally just there to be annoying. But despite Preston's flaws, everybody knows the Minuteman pathway in Fallout 4 is the best pathway. I mean, Preston says this so much, it is a meme in the Fallout community. On every Fallout video I watch, there's a guy with the Preston Garvey account that just keeps saying Another Settlement Needs Your Help. Which, if you're watching this, please comment, that'd be sick. Like, imagine getting noticed by the Preston Garvey. Okay, yeah, it's basically just something Preston Garvey says a lot, and it makes a lot of people annoyed. And we are already done with Tier 1. There was only 4 entries. There was a lot more originally here, but it was just all the games listed. And I don't think I need to talk about the games. I'm assuming if you watch this video, you already know all about the games. Okay, on to Tier 2. Starting off Tier 2, we have NCR and the Great Khans are from the same vault. For those who don't know, the NCR is basically a recoup of the government in California into their own little government that's run a lot like pre-war governments. I just said government a lot in one sentence, I apologize. But the Great Khans are basically this biker raider gang. They're kind of lit, I'm not gonna lie. In Fallout New Vegas, the Great Khans and NCR actually have a rivalry. But this entry is referring to the fact that the NCR and Great Khans are both from the same vault, that being Vault 15. By the way, Vault 15 was not like a really bad experimental vault. It was mainly for a social experiment. If you know anything about Fallout lore, you know that Vault-Tec is one of the most evil companies in the franchise, if not the most evil. But basically, Vault 15 was an experiment where they put a lot of people from radically different ideologies into one vault and see how it would do. Which makes sense with the NCR and Great Khan relationship because they are like polar opposites. But after a while, the vault became basically uninhabitable. It became a mess. And so everyone from Vault 15 left, and the NCR and Great Khans eventually split apart and eventually became the factions that they are now. The reason why these two factions hate each other is because of a series of a few battles and raids against the two factions, including one where the NCR attacked the Khan home base. I think vault lore is very interesting, and I'm down to do like a 2-hour video about Fallout vaults and what they were. Because for those who don't know, the vaults were marketed as a protection from the nuclear war that was happening and nuclear fallout, pun intended. They promised them safety from the outside world in their small little vault, but Vault-Tec was actually running a secret experiment throughout all of the vaults with different experiments on the citizens, vault dwellers, whatever you want to call them, that lived there. Again, if you want a whole video on Fallout vaults, let me know. Next up, we have Caesar's Legion are the good guys. Now, all the other factions kind of see Caesar's Legion as just a cruel, violent faction. But if you listen to the points that the Kaiser makes, it actually starts to make sense. Ancient Rome was one of the most successful and long-running countries, I apologize, of all time. And so to revert to that in a more modern era could end up having a good long-term effect. I think Caesar's Legion is one of the most interesting factions in all of Fallout lore. Also, I like how they captured Benny. They were cool for that. I do think Caesar's Legion has a very, very interesting way of looking at the world and how it should be run. Do I agree with Caesar's Legion? No. But do I see their point? Kind of. The next entry we have is Project Van Buren. So for those who don't know, Fallout 3 was the first-person shooter Fallout game. Before then, it was a top-down isometric turn-based game. Which I gotta be honest, I love the first two Fallout games, especially Fallout 1. The Master is the best antagonist in all of Fallout. I love him. But I gotta be honest, the gameplay is absolutely horrendous. They need to remake those games as FPS, and I would totally play those for like thousands of hours. But Project Van Buren was a canceled game where they were gonna recreate Fallout 3 into a top-down isometric turn-based game for those who like the original Fallouts. Which, do I understand why anybody would take the top-down turn-based game format over Fallout 3's? I don't understand it at all, I gotta be honest. But some people do prefer it. If you prefer the turn-based games, let me know in the comments. I want to see how much you guys are out there. Which, I mean, you gotta understand, I have never liked turn-based games, with a few exceptions here and there. But mainly, I do not like turn-based games at all. And I don't know why you would want to take Fallout 3's gameplay and turn it back into a turn-based game, whenever Fallout 3's gameplay was absolutely amazing, other than the fact that you couldn't run. That's my biggest problem with Fallout 3 in New Vegas, is that you can't run. It made the game so slow. That's one of the reasons why I like Fallout 4 so much, is because of how good the gameplay was. But still, I'm taking Fallout 3 in New Vegas' gameplay over the top-down isometric turn-based gameplay any day by far. Next up on the list, we have Marilyn. Marilyn is a cut robot from Fallout New Vegas. You guys remember the Securitrons, right? With Mr. House, aka the best faction to side with? Well, Marilyn is a cut Fallout character that was one of Mr. House's private Securitrons. And the interesting thing is, she could still be found in the game files. She was supposed to be very similar to Jane, who was one of Mr. House's private Securitrons that hung out in the presidential suite. And she is still referenced by Veronica, who mentions Mr. House's 2 robot sex slaves. She said that, not me, despite there only being 1. The reason why Marilyn was cut from Fallout New Vegas is because of overlapping voice lines that they cannot fix. So yeah, Marilyn is a cut character from Fallout New Vegas. Next up on the list, we have No Mutants Allowed. No Mutants Allowed is the longest running Fallout website on the internet. It was founded all the way back in 1997 based off of the first 2 Fallout games. It's a website for people to talk about all the Fallout games. Most people are talking about the first game and the second game, as well as Tactics and Brotherhood of Steel on there from everything I've seen. But other than that, it's a great website to go if you're a Fallout fan. It is the first Fallout website and the longest running Fallout website. If you're a Fallout fan, you should definitely visit here. You'll find some cool stuff. Next up on the list is Sergeant Dornan. So this guy is a sergeant for the Enclave. He's the guy at the beginning of Fallout 2 that yells at everybody. He's known for having a short fuse and a bad temper, which yeah, I can tell. He is automatically hostile to privates and new recruits, basically abusing his power. So basically, if you make a mistake or misstep once, you're gonna hear from this guy, and it's not gonna be fun. If you talk to Cannibal Johnson in Fallout New Vegas, he will talk to you about Sergeant Dornan and reminisce about him. Next up, we have the Fallout Restoration Project. The Fallout Restoration Project is another Fallout 2 entry. A group of modders made a mod for Fallout 2 where they fixed all the bugs, everything unfinished, added some missing content in, and basically refurbished all of Fallout 2 because Fallout 2 was rushed back in the day, and so they're kind of rebuilding it and making it better. So yeah, the Fallout Restoration Project is a mod for Fallout 2 that fixes a lot of the problems that it has. Now we're entering Tier 3 of the Fallout Iceberg. Starting off Tier 3, we have the Cryolator in Fallout 3. Now, if you know anything about Fallout, you're probably wondering, why are you saying Fallout 3? The Cryolator's only in Fallout 4 and 76. But what if I told you the Cryolator was supposed to be in Fallout 3, but it was cut out? For those who don't know what the Cryolator is, it is basically just a freeze ray. If you go out in Fallout 4 and level up your lockpicking to Master level and then go back to Vault 111, you can find a Cryolator behind a locked box. But originally, the Cryolator was supposed to be in Fallout 3, but it was cut out. Next up, we have Talking with Fiends. If you don't know what the Fiends are, they're a raider gang in Fallout New Vegas that are addicted to drugs, basically. Or if you want to be technical, addicted to chems. Now, originally in Fallout New Vegas, you were going to be able to talk with some of the Fiends, but it was cut out. You can bring it back through mods, but in the vanilla game, you cannot talk to the Fiends. But a lot of people say that they remember talking with the Fiends, so I'm assuming that they're just misremembering, or it's some kind of Mandela effect thing, because you were never able to talk with the Fiends. So basically, you can't talk to Fiends unless you have a mod installed. Next up on the list, we have the Fallout Bible. So the word Bible is being used kind of loosely here. It is basically just a retelling of the first 2 Fallout stories, but in blog form. So basically, if you don't want to go through all the trouble and hassle of playing through the first Fallout games, then you can just read this and get caught up with the story. I should also mention probably that the Fallout Bible is no longer considered canon by most people, except for a few mentions in Fallout 3. I should probably mention that I haven't read it, so I can't confirm nor deny, but from every research I did, it seems like it is no longer considered canon. Actually, the more I look into it, I don't think it's a summary of the story from the first few Fallout games, but it's background information that you can read before you get into the Fallout games. So there was probably overlapping information with games probably like Fallout 4, which made them decanonize it. Next up, we have the Slanter. I think that's how you say it. So we all know in Fallout there's mutated animals, insects, etc., right? Well, the Slanter was a mutated version of a raccoon that was going to be in the original Fallout. It was later cut because the developers felt like it didn't feel like something that would be in the Fallout universe, like it didn't match the Fallout style, which makes sense. Although I still would like to see this in a future Fallout game. Although I should probably mention that the reason it was cut is not definitively chosen, but most people believe it's because it didn't fit the style. Some people also believe it's because they didn't have the resources for it, but I mean, let's be real, they had the resources to build a whole Fallout game, but then the budget ran out the moment they had to create a raccoon, like, come on. Next up on the list, we have the Gorija. I think that's how you say it. The Gojira was a cut character in Fallout New Vegas that was like a salamander human mutant hybrid. It literally just looks like a fire gecko though. But this thing was supposed to be the size of a super mutant. That's horrifying, dude. Just like the Slanter, I want to see this thing in an official Fallout game. That'd be fire. Also, if it was actually put in the game, it would have been the strongest, most overpowered creature in the game by far. It had an HP of 8,000 and a damage per second of 3,200. That's absolutely insane. It could kill literally anything in the game. It would have been cool to see this thing as like kind of a mini boss fight though, I'm not gonna lie. Something interesting about the creature though is that the game file for that creature is still in the game file for Fallout New Vegas. It's just not used, so they left it in. Also, it was named after Godzilla. Now, something interesting I just found out is that it was never actually put in the game to be a part of the game. It was actually just put in as a joke by one of the developers, which probably explains why there's no new designs or anything for it. Now, with the rest of the entries on Tier 3, there's a few left that I haven't talked about, but I'm gonna be honest, either I can't find information about them, or they're really lame. So we might just move to Tier 4, but I might add some bonus entries at the end. Starting off with Tier 4, we have a really cool entry with Dad becoming a super mutant, the Dad of Fallout 3 of course. So according to the Fallout 3 game manual and concept art, the father from Fallout 3 was supposed to be found in Vault 87 as a super mutant, which I love the idea of that. It adds just another level onto Fallout 3, a level that is really needed. And he was apparently captured by other super mutants. Now, in the game, you were supposed to originally see him turn into a super mutant, but it was cut out. You were going to have like a fight with him as a super mutant, which, why would you cut that out? That's so cool. I wish they kept this. This would have been so cool. So yeah, the dad was supposed to turn into a super mutant, and according to the concept art and the game manual, he did turn into a super mutant. We just didn't see it and fight him. The next entry, we have clay models for talking heads. So in the first two Fallout games, instead of just using a sprite in front of a screen with voiceover playing, they used clay heads that they touched up afterwards in early post-production software. So all the characters you see in Fallout 1 and 2 were actually made with clay, and they touched it up afterwards with some After Effects. Now I think this is super cool in my opinion. I mean, I'd take this over just a sprite standing there any day. Really shows the effort they put into the first two Fallout games. Now I gotta be real, I don't know why this is so far down, because it seems like this is pretty tame, simple stuff, but it is this far down. But yeah, all the models in the first two Fallout games, whenever you're talking with a character, they were actually made as clay models. Next up on the list we have Project V13. Project V13 was an internal codename for Fallout Online. Now Project V13 was eventually cancelled because of a legal dispute between Bethesda and Interplay. Interplay was the company that was developing Project V13. Now, I mean, we did eventually kind of get this with Fallout 76, but it's not the same thing. And there hasn't been like an official mention of it since 2013, so we can safely say that it's not coming out. Unless you want to include this and Fallout 76 as the same thing, which they basically are. Next up, we have Fallout 1.5. Fallout 1.5 is a mod for Fallout 2 developed by fans. Fallout 1.5 introduces a completely new story and locations, and it is estimated that finishing game takes 25 hours. It is also a much more darker, mature game with stuff like organized crime, prostitution, and slavery being themes in the game. The story was set in 2170 in what was once New Mexico. You play as a man that wakes up in a cave with amnesia. A big theme of the game is cultism. A big driving force of the game is a cult known as the Cult of the Rebirth. I'm really oversimplifying it here, but you get to a point where you can either join the cult or destroy the cult. The cult's ran by ghouls in hopes of becoming normal again, so if you destroy the cult, that will get rid of ghouls' chances of being normal again. Next up on the list, we have Area 51. Believe it or not, but Area 51 is actually canon in the Fallout universe. Area 51 is mentioned in the original Fallout, the first one, and it was going to be a location in Fallout 2, but it was later cut from the final game. Area 51 in Fallout 2 was going to contain an alien saucer and a group of scientists, but again it ended up getting cut. The next entry on the list is TV Town. TV Town was proposed as a story idea in the second Fallout game, but was cut early in development. TV Town kind of sounds a lot like what the little pod things that the dad goes into in Fallout 3, that little sitcom world. It looks identical to that, it feels like. Also, it was mentioned in the Fallout Bible, so a little callback to that. It was going to be a town created by an intelligent computer based off 50 and 60 TV shows. Sound familiar? It was cut from Fallout 2 though, so other than the Fallout Bible, we don't have that much to go on about it. Next up on the list is Mobile Base. Mobile Base is one of the large command vehicles found in the Adams Air Force Base in Fallout 3. Specifically Fallout 3 Broken Steel. Pre-war, it was actually a space shuttle launch platform carried by a crawler transporter. The ship was used by the Enclave on the East Coast. And with the Enclave's technology, they transformed it into a perfect battle station. The technology on this thing was so insane that it would take many years to sift through all of it. So yeah, it's basically just a mobile base that's packed full of technology, kind of like a Best Buy. Now we are already on to Tier 5, so let's get into it. Starting off with Tier 5, we have Fallout Sonora. Fallout Sonora is a huge mod developed by a group of Russian modders. From everything I've seen, Fallout Sonora is basically like a whole new game with a whole new story, whole new characters, whole new factions. It looks pretty cool. It does seem relatively obscure though, I can't find that much information on it. It is for the old Fallouts unfortunately, so it's isometric. There's things like cannibals, bikes, cyborgs, sacrifices, and a bunch of cool stuff like that. These modders are absolutely insane. Like the fact you can create a game within a game is so cool to me. Like I don't get it, but it's cool. This Iceberg is making me want to do a video just on Fallout mods because there's so many and they're all so cool. The next entry is Rotface's Cut Quest. So if you need a reminder on who Rotface is, he's that homeless ghoul that's sitting down at Freeside. Why do I keep saying ghoul? It's ghoul. Now this quest is technically in the game, just nowhere near what it was supposed to be. Now in the game, it's not really your standard Fallout mission. It's not like you just go in there, shoot the bad guys, and get out. No, you have to like barter with him basically. You mainly go to Rotface for some gossip and to find the location of the NCR charity. Now I gotta be real, I don't really know why this is down here. I have to be missing something. But everywhere I can look, I can't find the information about what Rotface's original quest was supposed to be. So let me know if I got something wrong in the comments. So this next one is finally a Fallout 4 entry. This might be the first one, or at least the first one in a while. This entry is Kellogg is still alive in Nick's brain. Do you guys remember the mission in Fallout 4 where they take bits of Kellogg's brain after that fight you have with him and implant them into Nick's mind to go through his memories? Now some people think that Kellogg is still alive in there and this is a Tyler Durden Johnny Silverhand situation. A lot of people think that there's no way Kellogg was completely erased from his memories because Kellogg interacted with Nick inside of his brain. And since he interacted with Nick, that whole interaction would have been wiped from his memories because, you know, Kellogg was in his mind, but it wasn't. So that's why people think that Kellogg is still alive in Nick's brain. Which, I mean, poor Kellogg, bro. That's gotta suck. Imagine being stuck in some synth's brain. The next entry is another mod for Fallout 2. There's a lot of mods for Fallout 2 out there with Olympus 2207. But the interesting thing with Olympus 2207 is that it's not set in the Fallout universe. So it's basically a mod for Fallout that has nothing to do with Fallout. Now the plot is literally identical to Fallout. A great war happened in 2013. Humanity hid in vaults, but at the same time, it's not Fallout. So it's a mod that's a new game, but it's basically just bootleg Fallout. The next entry is another piece of cut content with the Mr. House scanner room. Now I'm going to assuming this is the same thing as the control room, because I can't find anything on the scanner room, but I can find a lot about the control room. Mr. House's control room, if you've ever sided with Yes Man or any of the other factions other than Mr. House, you'll be taken down to this secret room where Mr. House is in his life support area. Now I gotta be honest, I don't think this is what this entry is referring to, but I can't find anything about a scanner room. Because I feel like most of the things this low are either mods or cut content, and this is just a part of New Vegas. But yeah, the control room is where Mr. House's real life body is stored under life support. The next entry we have is the Vault 11 Survivor. The Vault 11 Survivor is a cut NPC from Fallout New Vegas. After the Civil War of Vault 11, there were only 5 survivors. The last 5 survivors refused to fight, and they assumed they were going to be killed. But that was actually part of the experiment, and the experiment was over, and they were left alive. But most of the survivors ended up killing themselves. Or they were killed by each other. Except for one man. The interesting thing here is that there is one survivor, and we don't know who it is. He's still in the game files too, so you can spawn him in using console commands. But other than that, there's not much else to talk about with him. He's just a cut character from Fallout New Vegas that contributes a lot to Fallout Vault lore. Control+R dev mode is referring to Fallout 2. Again, there's a lot of Fallout 2 on here, where if you're on that title screen and you click Control+R, it brings up a huge list of areas that you can go to. Now this is nothing more than just a developer tool to make things easier. But I don't think they meant to leave it in, obviously, because why would they? It's just a dev tool that was left in the game. Next up we have Vault 13 references in Vault 101. Now this one's on here because of a reference to the original Fallout. Now the way this could be seen as a reference is because both of the vaults have the same exact objective. Vault 13's goal was to see the effects of isolation, so they were going to keep these vault dwellers in a vault for over 200 years. Now Vault 101's goal was to study the effects of isolation as well, but with 300 years, which also ties in with the Enclave, because in 300 years it was estimated that the world would be back to normal and the Enclave would rule over. So there are many similarities between 101 and Vault 13, and so many people think it's a reference to the original Fallout. Here we go into Tier 6. Starting off Tier 6, we have Born Goals. Born goals in the Fallout universe are goals that are born as ghouls and not a human that turns into one. I should probably mention first that these are considered not canon. Now this obviously does not happen naturally, but instead it was a part of an experiment by Dr. Sebastian at the reservation. Also, the ghoul birth had a 2% success rate, which is about 2% bigger than I thought it would be. Now these ghouls are tougher, stronger, and faster than the average ghoul. Why do I keep saying ghoul? I mean ghoul. I'm gonna keep saying ghoul. I'm just locked in at this point. Now, like I said, the Born Ghouls are not canon, so they do not appear in any of the Fallout games. They do appear in Fallout Shelter, though, if you want to include that. But the weird part about Born Ghouls in Fallout Shelter is that if a ghoul gives birth, it gives birth to an unmutated human. How does that even work? The next entry is Fallout 2D20. Fallout D20 was a planned pen and paper role-playing game. Think of something like D&D. But from the looks of it, it seems like it's out now. Some websites are saying that it goes by the name Exodus now, but whenever I looked up Fallout D20, like a spot for me to purchase one came up, so I don't know. But a lot of the websites mentioned that it was later renamed Exodus and eventually released. Now the next one on this list is 3 playable races in Fallout New Vegas. So Fallout New Vegas was originally imagined to have 3 different races: the humans, the ghouls, and the super mutants. Which, I mean, now I'm glad that they didn't do it. I'm happy with the New Vegas we got. But in the future, I would love to see like an RPG Fallout game like this. Obviously, if you haven't noticed yet, this was cut out and scrapped and just replaced with humans only. Because if they went with something like super mutants, how are they going to work in the Benny plotline where you get shot in the head? I'm basically saying that there would be a lot of problems with doing 3 races in New Vegas, so I'm glad that they didn't. The next entry we have is Who is Mr. New Vegas? So New Vegas in Fallout lore is an artificial intelligence created by Mr. House before the Great War. So Mr. New Vegas is basically a radio guy, but a robot. It also shows how Mr. House is still trying to innovate technology and push humans forward, even in the horrible circumstances that humanity is in. That's why Mr. House is the best option to go to in New Vegas, because I feel like Mr. House would actually make things better. Yeah, sure, he's got a bit of moral grayness to him, but so do all the other factions. But comparing all the factions is a topic for another video. Now this next one's a really interesting entry. The Chosen One died in a car crash. If you don't know who the Chosen One is, he's the protagonist of the first 2 Fallout games. So, in Fallout New Vegas, there is a crashed highwayman, and a lot of people think that crashed highwayman is the Chosen One, and that he died a little bit after Fallout 2. Most people think it is a reference to the Chosen One, but it's not actually the Chosen One. But I mean, who knows, the Chosen One could be dead in Fallout New Vegas. The next entry is about the New Plague. The New Plague is a precursor to the FEV virus that we know all about in the Fallout games. It was discovered in 2050, aka like 27 years before the bombs were dropped. And the New Plague paved the way for the FEV to be formed, which the FEV is the virus that turns humans into super mutants. I do want to see some more lore. Well, we have the lore, just not in like the main franchise. I want to see a Fallout game that goes back before the bombs were dropped and you play as a soldier all the way up to the bombs drop, and then you survive a little bit after the fallout. Oh my god, pause everything right now. I'm recording right now, and Cardi just posted that he's dropping his album on Friday. I can't believe this. Okay, back to Fallout. Okay, so that's it with Tier 6. On to Tier 7. Starting off Tier 7, we have No Bark, No Ann is the chosen one. I'm sorry if I'm saying No Ann wrong. So No Bark, No Ann is the crazy guy in Novak in Fallout New Vegas. Now, from literally everything I've seen, there's not like an actual well-sustained theory with evidence. It's literally just he's old and he could be the Lone Wanderer. I mean, he could. Also, I just realized that it was mistyped. It wasn't the Lone Wanderer, it was the Chosen One. But like the only connection I'm seeing is that he's old and he's in the same general area that the Chosen One would be in. So I mean, he could. And the fact that his past is kind of obscure. Okay, this next entry is the one I kept getting confused with the last entry. It's Deacon is the Lone Wanderer. So if you guys don't remember what Deacon is the only cool part about the Railroad. The Railroad is the worst Fallout faction by far, and I love Fallout 4. I'm a Fallout 4 defender. I've already said that in this video. Fallout 4 is an overhated game. It's great. But the Railroad is horrible. Why would you ever side with the Railroad? It makes no sense. But the Deacon was the bald-headed guy that can be your companion. I keep saying the Deacon because I'm so used to calling it the Deacon because of Alien. So Deacon's name, which isn't his real name, it's a code name for the Railroad, does have some biblical tie-ins. And the biblical tie-ins tie in with biblical tie-ins in Fallout 3. I just threw out a lot of tie-ins in one sentence. People believe he chose the name Deacon to honor him and his father's actions in the last game. A deacon in religion, usually Christian religion, is the person right under the priest, which the priest could be seen as the Lone Wanderer's father. Also, the times would match up. There's only a 10-year difference between Fallout 3 and 4. Also, I just want to say shout out Cool Dr. Money on Reddit for coming up with this theory. It's a really cool and in-depth theory if you want to go look in on it. There's a lot to it. Now, is Deacon actually the Lone Wanderer? I don't know, but I'm going to choose to believe that he is, because it's more fun that way. The next entry is Jet is a pre-war drug. For those who don't know, Jet is a highly addictive drug that, if ingested in the game, will slow down time. Now, in Fallout 2, we are told that Jet is making its ways around the wasteland, but in reality, Jet was a pre-war drug. There are plenty of references to the drug Jet in Vault 95, which, to summarize it, the timing would make sense that that would be before the Great War. All the Vault dwellers in Vault 95 were addicted to drugs, including Jet, which, I mean, how would they get that if it wasn't given to them before the war? And which Vault Tech used as a drug abuse experiment. And then Jet would eventually make its way throughout the wasteland. The next entry, we're going back to the beginning. You remember the Van Buren mod we were talking about with Fallout 3? It's coming back for the second to last entry. Van Buren is still in development, is the idea that the Van Buren mod is just still being worked on. It's just taking a really long time. There's been delays. It's just an absolute mess. But it is still in development. Now, I mean, let's be honest, that's just cope. I don't think it is. I will say, though, with all the mods on this list, how has there not been like a full-on Van Buren mod? I understand that it would be insanely difficult, but these modders are like different species, bro. They're absolute animals. I think they could do it. Even if I don't see the point to Van Buren because I don't like the gameplay, I would still like to see it released for the people that do like the isometric turn-based gameplay. Now, the last entry might be my favorite one on the entire Iceberg. The final entry states, nuclear war was caused by the aliens. Now, in case you don't know, aliens are a long-running theme in the Fallout games. They can be seen in almost any Fallout game. I'm assuming you guys have at least heard of the Mothership Zeta DLC. It's a whole DLC based on aliens in Fallout 3. So, the aliens went for the ICBM launch codes. And truth is, nobody really knows who started the nuclear war. And so, I've seen some theories that the whole Great War was just a plot from the aliens to take over Earth, which, yeah, maybe. Now, is this true? Probably not, but it's super cool, so we're just gonna say it's true. It's crazy how Bethesda just keeps changing canon. I love how they're just so open about how they don't care about the canon or the fan base. Which, again, I think they did do good with Fallout 4. I think Fallout 3 has a lot of problems that aren't talked about enough. So, yeah, the whole Great War, everything in Fallout is just a plot for aliens to take over the world, I guess. What a way to end off the Iceberg. I just finished recording. This took me, 6 hours? I feel like editing this is going to be a pain. Oh, I'm not ready for that. But if you liked the video, if you watched this far, you should definitely like the video, subscribe, all that stuff that YouTubers tell you to do, because it would really help me out a lot. I'm just starting out on YouTube, and I could use it. I would appreciate it a lot. Sorry, I'll be stuttering a lot. Most of my subscribers are probably here for the Breaking Bad content. I will still be making Breaking Bad content, just not that often, because I gotta be honest, I don't really enjoy making the Breaking Bad content that much. Love Breaking Bad, but the content is not that fun to make. But stuff like this, I absolutely love. Video game lores. So if you guys want to see another video game franchise that you want me to cover, please let me know and I'd be down to do it. The channel's been growing really well. We just hit 500 subs, which a week ago we were at 400 subs. The channel's been growing really fast and I really appreciate it. Also, join the Discord, follow the TikTok, all that stuff in my bio. If you have video ideas you want me to make, then I have a video suggestions channel on the Discord. Also, I'm down to do some more Fallout rankings. I'm not done doing ranking videos. Most of you guys probably subscribe for the ranking videos. I'm just going to be doing less of them. But again, I would appreciate it a lot if you subscribe. And that's absolutely crazy to me. I started a month ago. I thought it would take me years to get to this point. If you watch this far, that means so much more that I can even explain. I feel like I'm just yapping now, so I'll get off in a second. But really, thank you guys so much. It means the world to me that you watch these videos. And if I missed some interesting things you want me to talk about, or I got some information wrong, let me know in the comments, and I'll definitely clarify. So, yeah, thank you for watching. It means a lot, and I'll see you guys in the next upload.